welcome back to Mancinima. I hope you're all doing very well. What movie have I got for you this week? Well, I've got a movie that opened for you last Friday, and that movie is The Blue Beetle. It's the latest from DC Comics stroke DC movies, and it follows along in the likes of Superman, Batman, and more recently, of course, The Flash. Our plot concerns Cord Industries. They're out at this remote ice tundra and they're digging around and they're looking for something which is known as the Scarab. However, we flash forward to a point where we see Jaime Reyes. Now, I'm hoping I'm getting these pronunciations of names right, so I do apologise if I butcher some of them because I'm not very good at pronunciations. So I think it's Jaime Reyes. He's returning. He's graduated from college. He's played by Xolo Maridueña, who you may know from Cobra Kai. Of course, he's one of the cast in the Cobra Kai TV series. He's returning home and he's come home to see his family. He's all pleased that he's graduated. He's got his graduation cap on and all this business. And his family are all gathered round, happy to meet and greet him. However, what he doesn't know is that his family are in financial difficulties and are at risk of losing their house and everything that they own. So he seeks out to find himself a job. And he meets up with, well, his sister finds a job working within Cord Industries, and they go there, and I think they're just cleaners, and I think he aspires, obviously, for something better as he's a graduate. However, he has to go and clean this house, and while he's cleaning this house, he finds that he gets involved in this argument between this woman called Victoria Cord, who is the head of the corporation. She's played by Susan Sarandon, and her niece Jenny, and she's played by Bruna Marquezine. So he gets in the middle of all this. Jenny basically finds that the Scarab is in Cord Industries. She steals it to prevent her aunt from creating any problems, creating this big army of all these armoured suits and things like that, and she steals it away from them because she knows the trouble that it can cause. And in order to get it out of her hand, she quickly hands this like burger box over to Jaime, and he takes it home, and of course his family are gathered around and asks him how his first day at work was, and he goes, well, it's a bit weird, and you know, we didn't really get to do very much. And they urge him to open the box, and when he opens the box, he finds that the Blue Beetle, the Scarab, is inside, and he touches it and it fuses with his body. And he finds that it gives him kind of superhero powers. He can fly, he's got all these powers where he can create blasts with his hands and all these different kinds of things. And there's also an AI that's speaking to him from within the costume. So that's the basic plot of the movie. So from there on out, he's got to stop Jenny's wicked aunt, as I say, played by Susan Sarandon, Victoria Cord, and she's also got her own kind of robotic, armoured character, henchman if you like, that goes against the Blue Beetle, so you've got loads of kind of armour upon armour battles. So yeah, that's the basic plot of the movie. So what is there to say about the Blue Beetle movie? Well, first out the gate, it's actually a lot of fun. It's a very light-hearted movie. It moves at a good pace. Everybody gives their all in their performances, especially Xolo as Jaime, or the Blue Beetle himself. He's a lot of fun, and I think he's going to actually be an actor to watch for the future. I think probably given bigger, better parts, he'll grow, you know, from strength to strength. And you know, he's fantastic in Cobra Kai as well. If you've ever seen that show, it's really worth tuning in for. He's a good actor. Like I say before, Susan Sarandon, playing Victoria Cord, the head of the corporation, she chews the scenery a little bit. She's a little bit pantomime dame, pantomime evil witch kind of thing, and she chews the scenery, but she never really feels like a real threat as a villain. She's, you know, sometimes you see these superhero films and there's a real threat, there's a real worry that your hero may not make it out of this alive. Take for instance Spider-Man No Way Home, the most recent Spider-Man movie, when the Green Goblin gathers all of the, not quite the Sinister Six, maybe let's call them the Fearful Five or something like that. He gathers them together, and there's a real threat that the Green Goblin is going to go off the deep end and cause harm. He obviously wipes out, spoiler alert, Aunt May in No Way Home. So you need that kind of a threat in this movie, and you never really feel like Victoria Cord, Susan Sarandon is giving you that. She's got her henchman, of course. He's kind of muscled up, not speaking very much, kind of a character who wears the armour, and he's obviously pitted against kind of armour against the Blue Beetle. So you've got that kind of a threat going on. There's kind of the usual, it's like Iron Man versus another armoured Iron Man, or Venom versus Carnage, that kind of thing. You're pitting like against like. So there's never really a super threat in there either. There is one moment where one of the characters is sadly lost, and that's quite a heartfelt moment. Very well done, I thought. But again, I don't know that it was done as well as it's been done in some other movies, some more recent movies. Again, talking about No Way Home when Aunt May passed away. the loss in this film, I don't think is done as well as that, and I don't think you really feel it, and I think that we kind of move on from it a little bit too quickly and go straight back into the end of the film. So yeah, a little bit more care and attention given to that would have been a good thing. But yeah, you know, everyone's great in their part, everybody performs very, very well. But the one thing I will say is that I did actually think this film felt dated. It didn't feel like a modern superhero film. It felt like a movie from around kind of the late 80s going into the early 90s. Do you remember when you know, after Batman 1989 came out, there was a slew of superhero movies that suddenly appeared on the horizon that were trying to catch up or be very similar to that movie, but didn't really have the budget or the means to compete with it. So we had, there was Matt Salinger's Captain America in 1990, which came from, I think it was the Canon Corporation or somebody like that. It felt like that kind of a movie. A superhero movie that was giving it its all, but didn't quite have the budget or the means to give you what it really should have been. And it felt a little bit odd. I think also part of that was due to the score. I really didn't like the score in The Blue Beetle. I'm not really a fan of that 80s, apart from John Carpenter, I love John Carpenter's work, but I'm not really a fan of that kind of typical 80s synth music that you get. And The Blue Beetle is actually threaded with that. You watch this movie and at the beginning you get this synth score and it kind of rises up and it goes away. And you just kind of wished for something a little bit more, maybe orchestral or with a better sound, you know, but there's this synth that's running through it. Also, the fact that you got a lot of neon colours in this movie from the Blue Beetle himself. He obviously lights up a neon blue and things like that. So it really did give you that feeling that you were watching a movie from the late 80s going into the early 90s. So yeah, it felt a little bit weird, a little bit dated in that respect. Also the way that the story was laid out, you know, as I say, with Marvel and with other DC movies that we've had recently, the plot seems that much more intricate, that much more care has been taken about it to present it to us. You know, the character development has been that much greater. This seemed very lightweight. Like I say, very much like the superhero movies of the late 80s going into the early 90s, in that it was a lightweight fare. You know, yes, you got your villains against villains, but it never really felt there was any real threat or any real danger. But that said, you know, I'm not going to take that away from the movie itself. It is a fun movie. There is a lot of action. There's a lot of funny moments. Especially with Zolo's uncle called Rudy. He's played by George Lopez, and yeah, he's a lot of fun in the movie as well. He kind of comes along for the ride. You also get the grandma comes along for the ride, and there's silly scenes with her toting a big gun and things like this. So it's that kind of a movie. It's a very family movie. You know, the entire family goes out to help him in his battle with Victoria Court. But yeah, I would say I'd certainly recommend that you go and see this one at the cinema. It's a lot of fun. It's just one of those sit back, relax, let it wash over you, let you enjoy it kind of a movies. But the one thing I will say is that I don't really know how it's going to fit into James Gunn's plans for his future DC. Now, whether his future DC is going to be like this, whether it's going to be all lightweight, very lightly plotted, very lightly character developed, I don't know. I don't really see him doing that given what he's given us with Guardians of the Galaxy, with all those intricate characters and all those fantastic plot threads. I don't see that James Gunn is going to deliver us a lightweight DC universe going forward. I think, you know, again, once we see the first of his movies and the rest of his movies going forward, the Blue Beetle is going to be like that little movie that's stuck on the outside somewhat. It feels a little bit odd, a little bit strange, but apparently he's going to include the Blue Beetle in this DC universe going forward. So, will we see a Blue Beetle sequel? It's hinted at in one of the post-credit sequences. There's two post-credit sequences, if you like. And so stick around for those. At the very end, there's one that would relate to a potential sequel. But I basically think that the character's just going to show up in future DC movies. I think he's probably going to pop up as a kind of a standby character who will help the main hero out. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to see a Blue Beetle sequel. I'd like to see maybe a better director handle it with a better plot, better character development and things like that. But like I say, I don't want to take away from what the movie is. It is a fun movie. I don't want to be down on this movie because it's fun, it's enjoyable, great characterization with, you know, with what we are presented with. They're a lot of fun to watch. They're a lot of fun to be around. But I just felt that it could have been, there could have been a little bit of, not darkness if you know what I mean, but a little bit more deep thought put into this movie. So yes, please go and see Blue Beetle at the cinema. It's at the cinema right now. I would give the movie, it's probably, for me, a 6 out of 10. So it's that sounds a bit bad, but it's a 6 out over 10, because I think that it doesn't quite hit the regular 7 out of 10 that I've been hitting recently. But yeah, I would say this is a 6 out of 10, but it's still very, very enjoyable, and I do think you should go and see this at the cinema while it's still around. What have we got coming up for you next? Well, I'm going to go off and see a movie tonight, which is Odeon's Screen Unseen. I'll let you know what that is on the next video. But in the meantime, thank you for watching this one. Please give this one the thumbs up, as usual. Don't be the thumb bandits, like we know those certain little people that come along and they click down because they don't know which way it is. So click on the thumb this way up, thank you very much. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you to all of the new subscribers, really do appreciate it. Thank you for coming along, thank you for watching my videos. And hit the notification bell and you'll know when I've done another one of these videos. So that is it for the minute. Like I said, go and see Blue Beetle at the cinema. I hope you enjoy it. Please let me know in the comments what you thought about it. And I will see you on the next one.